The Miami Hurricanes won 67-66 over Virginia Tech, improved to 21-5 on the season, 10-3 in the ACC. Trey Donaldson, a huge game, career high 32 points. He scored 24 in the second half, and he scored the Hurricanes' final 15 points, including the tie-breaking free throw with 12.5 seconds left. That put Miami ahead, and they were able to hold on down the stretch in those closing seconds. Miami had a couple fouls to give. Unlike Virginia Tech, who fouled, it was just a bad foul by Virginia Tech to foul Trey at the top of the key there, 12.5. But Miami had a couple fouls to give, and they used them to their advantage, took time off the clock, and then Virginia Tech came out of their timeout with 3-4 seconds left, was able to put up a shot, but not a quality shot, as Hammond there was off balance. Miami got the win. So huge win for Miami in the fact that it keeps them in contention. It keeps them continuing to win games. It obviously didn't look great at times, but look, the way this game went, and it's a huge factor with Malik Renu. So if you're watching the game and didn't know exactly what happened, it was definitely confusing watching the second half. Malik goes out at the 15-minute mark, doesn't come back in until 3:43 left, and most of that time he wasn't even on the bench. So the team said, Coach Lucas mentioned that he was dealing with a little bit of a headache and a little bit of some blurred vision. So we'll see what that means moving forward, but Malik did go back in, wasn't a factor in the final few minutes. But with that, I think that's why Trey understood, look, that Miami's best scoring option was not in the game, not on the bench, and somebody needed to take over. It was a little bit herky-jerky with the offense. It didn't look great in most of the game. They weren't able to get to a lot of things. They didn't hit outside shots. It's not an outside shooting team. But they just weren't able to kind of either pull ahead or they trailed, to Virginia Tech. They were down 3 points at halftime. And again, Miami grinded this one out just like they did against NC State there in the final minute. They definitely had to grind this one out. Trey hit a big three at the top of the key, kind of right behind me in the closing minutes there, and just continued to make plays. It did such a great job of getting downhill, using his ball handling ability, didn't give up on shots, didn't pass it up, and really got to the basket, got inside the paint. And Miami had a narrow edge in this one in points in the paint. They'd like to score a little bit more and more than their opponent, like create a bigger advantage. But with what they had, with Malik not in the game, they're not going to score as many points as they would like. And Malik had, a season low 9 points in this one. But I just thought it was big that Miami won this game, didn't play their best. It wasn't their best game. And Malik was out. So it's tough to really judge this team with how they performed and some of the things that didn't go quite well. But again, Trey got downhill. Virginia Tech had a really hard time stopping his penetration, and he made shots. For him to score that many points at the point guard spot in particular, but also that he is showing, today, obviously, with the second half, but he has been showing over this last month or so, just really this takeover ability late in games. Coach Lucas feels very comfortable and confident with Trey having the ball in his hands, and he's asked a lot, whether it's some pick and roll situations late in games, finding the open man, or like we saw today, really take over with his scoring ability. I think that's my biggest takeaway with this game in terms of Trey showing once again that he has this ability to take over, and this is what you want to have in a team, especially at this point in the season. And Trey said it after the game. I kind of asked him about that, but just with where this team is. But look, 5 games left in the regular season. He understands. He's a veteran guy. He's played in big games. He understands with where this team is, and I think for him to show this takeover ability late in the season is really important for this team. They can go to him. Obviously, when Malik is healthy and out there, they can certainly give him the ball as well. And Malik's done a pretty good job all season long at shooting his free throws too, so you can keep that big out there. But today it was all about Trey Donaldson, what he was able to provide, knocked down a few three-pointers, 13 made field goals in this one. So it wasn't a game where, he got to the free throw line a ton or anything like that, or hit 6-7 free throws. Look, he was just making shots all throughout the game, particularly in the second half. Another player who I thought was very impactful in the Hurricanes win, and it's not by his counting stats, with Ernest Uday. Look, he only had 4 points, caught 2 dunks on lobs, had 9 rebounds. We've seen him have bigger offensive performances and more rebounds, but he played 33 minutes, and in those 33 minutes, he was a plus 19. The Hurricanes were a plus 19 when he was on the floor. he's really just showing his impact to winning, and it's great. And Ernest, with what he's able to provide, again, on the defensive end, creating, affecting shots in the paint, or certainly paint presence is big, and defensive rebound and things like that. But also on the other end, he caught 2 lobs, but as Coach Lucas has touched on earlier this year, throughout the season, Ernest, even if he's not catching lobs, he has a lob presence, and I think that definitely helps the offense. And again, when he was on the floor, the Hurricanes are plus 19. They only win by 1, so certainly they've got to be much better when he is not on the floor. But again, it just shows his impact, and I think Ernest has just been really valuable to this team all season long. Something I've been watching with this team recently, and will continue to watch down the stretch here, is the decision to start Dante Allen there at that 2-guard spot, and True Washington coming off the bench. And True's come off the bench in the last 3 games he's played in, and tonight he just wasn't very effective. Look, they want to have that scoring punch off the bench, and today True, 22 minutes, 1 of 7, only 3 points. Whereas Dante did have 10 points. He was the only other Hurricane besides Trey to score in double figures, and he played about 30 minutes in this one. But I think it's just very important to make sure that they're still getting the most out of both players, making sure they're looking at some lineup analysis in terms of, on-off or offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, and I'm sure they're taking all of that into consideration. So we'll see moving forward, but I understand the idea with Coach Lucas. They want to move True to the bench and try to provide some scoring off the bench that we've not really seen most of the season. And, I just think making that move, we'll just kind of see how it is. I think it's just really important that True can still provide this team and still play well, and that it's not disrupting this team offensively. And I don't think it's necessarily should be a thing for certain that Dante stays in the starting lineup. I think we'll just kind of see how the rest of the season kind of goes, or the next few games. And certainly they can always move back. But I think it's just something to really pay attention to with this team, with this lineup shuffle a little bit. Again, paying attention to it on a big picture in terms of, where this team can be at its best, and, on, off, when guys are on the floor, off the floor, and how it looks. Again, I touched on with Ernest, when he's off the floor, it was a huge difference in this game. So I heard an interview this week with ESPN college basketball reporter Jeff Borzello talking about Miami and Jay Lucas, the job he's done in year 1. And I posted that article on InsideTheU.com, so definitely check that out. But today I was able to kind of ask a little bit more about Jay, Coach Lucas, what has been so impressive, what he's able to do here in year 1, and why they've been able to have success. And look, in saying that, I do think the players deserve a lot of credit. Those 3 senior leaders with Ernest, Trey, and Malik, and the way the other guys have fit in, Shelton, everybody has been a big factor in the success of this team. But in particular with Coach Lucas, what he's done well. And one of the things I was told, which I just want to share, is that, they feel like he's done a really good job of being personable, and not just with the players. He's been good with the players, but also the staff. And he's also a guy that listens. Everybody kind of feels like they can talk to him. Now, he has final say in everything and will make his own decisions, but he will certainly take all the information in. He's also, really relatable, and I think that really helps maybe with his age, in terms of the players. But he's just done a really good job with this team and deserves a lot of credit, like Borzello mentioned, but I definitely want to give him a lot of credit as well. Look, coming into the season, I understand a lot of excitement with Coach Lucas and what he could potentially do, but for me, with first-year coaches, I am very much in the wait-and-see mentality, and that's how I was with Coach Lucas, because we don't know what kind of head coach he's going to be. And look, this is only the start of his career, but certainly everything has gone well for Miami. Yes, there's been a couple disappointing results, but with where this team is, 21-5, 10-3 in the ACC, a chance for a top 4 seed in the conference, finish, and that big win against North Carolina last week, and with what they have been able to do down the stretch here. It has been very impressive. So shout out to Coach Lucas, what he's able to do. And there's more that I can get into with Coach Lucas, my thoughts on what's gone well, but I just want to pass that little nugget along. But definitely drop in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this game. How did it go in your mind? Are any concerns? Are you just really excited? They got the win. They figured it out as they move to the next game at number 14 Virginia. and just your thoughts on how this season has gone as well. Definitely always enjoy hearing what you guys have to say. So definitely drop in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Have a good rest of the day and take care.